afternoon. My name is Joseph Lloyd and I source cars for people on a professional basis, hence the name of my channel, Lloyd Vehicle Consulting. 4 years ago, I was asked to come up with a series of videos that were filmed inexpensively. We don't use digital cameras, we don't use fluid head tripods, we don't use shotgun microphones, we wear tatty shirts, we just use a phone. But we look at cars that you can buy for a budget up to £1,000 only, and we very much enjoy ourselves. These are cars that might be in cosmetically bad condition. You might see oil leaks, rattly dashboards and cosmetic imperfections, but we go all over the country and we find these very inexpensive cars that you all seem to enjoy watching.
Well, viewers, you didn't expect to see something like this on the channel. Here we are as a guest of Gareth from the Blake's Den channel, based in Cheshire. And this is a Mark 1 Hyundai Santa Fe. They were launched in this country in 2001, and this is a really late one. It was registered in September 2005. Gareth tells me that they actually were on 06 plates as well, although there was a gap, I think, in production between the end of this one and the imports of the second one, so that would just have been late registration. Been in the family, I believe, since new, which is interesting. It's only got like 44,000 miles on the clock. Obviously, living out in the countryside with the dog, it obviously being used for all sorts of things you might be using it. You can actually, I think, tow something like 2.7 tons of braked trailer weight with this, which is good. Very sort of unusual styling, typical kind of early 2000s Korean stuff, when it all was a bit weird and it just didn't look very European at all. But these days the styling of Korean cars is much more sort of in line with the rest of the world, really. But it's interesting sort of details all over it, like this boot handle here. The capacity of the boot is enormous. It's 850 litres, which is vast. See, we've got the low blind here. One thing you couldn't get, which I think you could get in a first generation Kia Sorento, with 7 seats. You couldn't get that in this, I don't think. If you sort of lift this up, you can see we've got plastic thing and then jump cables with spares like sort of underneath there somewhere. But yeah, it's sort of tough looking but unusual car. Weirdly, the only sort of bits of rust on this car are the wiper blades, and I'm somewhere else where I'll actually show you in a bit, but very practical in terms of getting in and out. Big doors. I gathered that Hyundai said you could fit 3 ounces of breast in here. We'll just see what it's like just for me and the child seat here. Side airbags in the front seats. It's all right. It's not nearly as big as you'd think. You'd need to have to sit quite far up, and if you do, and it's okay. But my head's touching the roof, which is unusual in a big old car like this. You'd think that was not be a problem. Cup holders in here, and I think that's like an ashtray or something as well. That cup's empty, thank goodness. Yes. Yeah, child seat fits in here really well. Have we got an armrest in here as well? He had more cup holders. How many cup holders do you need in the back? How? Anyway, I've got the sort of net mat pockets on the back. You've got a really big door bin, sort of the biggest door bins that I've ever seen in my life, and this extremely strange material on the doors. It's I don't know what this is. It's soft. It's not leather or anything. The seats are. It's a strange period in Korean car design where they're sort of trying to make things look interesting, but they just end up looking just sort of slightly rubbish. I don't really know how else to say it. The interior is worn fine, considering this car is getting on for 19 years old. But it's just sort of, I don't know, it just makes it look a bit weird. You know, that's just my opinion, I think. Now, sensibly, this car wasn't marketed really at sort of the Land Rover Discovery set. It was more sort of one class down. So the fact that actually the interior space isn't as big as a Discovery didn't really matter so much because it wasn't priced to compete with one. Right-hand indicator stalk, typical older Korean. Cruise control and climate control. This is the CDX model, by the way, which has all the sort of toys in it. But we have got a really kind of basic-looking stereo. It looks like it's straight out of a Hyundai Getz. Front fog lamps. We've actually got heated seats in this car as well. Strangely enough, this car, although it looks really quite tough, is not equipped with a low-range gearbox. It's not equipped with a ladder frame chassis. It's actually a monocoque construction. It's not the same chassis as a Sonata or anything like that. I mean, you seen in a bit, it's got one of the engines out of the contemporary Sonata, the 2.7 V6, but it's actually sort of more like a car-like than you think. And the engine's apparently really smooth as well. There's a video on Gareth's channel showing him sort of balancing a coin on top of the engine. But yeah, it feels okay. Dash is a little bit squishy, little bit. It's not completely hard, but it's nowhere near as sort of luxurious as some of the kind of other rivals to this car would have felt. Although I think these just keep going. They're pretty reliable cars. Yeah, have a look at the glove box in a bit. We've got, of course, all around electric windows and electric mirrors and door locking buttons arranged in a really strange way. I mean, you've got the locking thing as well here. Don't know why you need all those. Strangely enough, though, this is the top of the range model. We've not got electric seats in here or anything like that. And we've not got any wood trim, which I would prefer. But you know, there we go. Got this little box here for other stuff, whatever family detritus that you need. Another cup holder there. That's a big sort of storage bit there. Right, I think we'll have a look under the bonnet next. Well, viewers, what have you got under here? A 2.7 litre double overhead cam 24 valve V6. Generating, in this application, somewhere between 170 and 177 horsepower. And it's ultra low emission zone compliant too. In your face, Mayor of London and all your friends around the country with your ultra low emission and clean air zones. Yeah. There's not a lot of room to work on this though. I imagine taking that plastic cover off would sort of help a little bit. But yeah, I mean, it's all there. Tell this car has not done too many miles because those shop tops look original to me. Could be wrong about that. Yeah. Don't know about this kind of front end bit. This is a facelift car. The facelift occurred about 2004, I think it was, in this country. But I suppose it looks distinctive. I think the gas struts are already on the facelifted one for some reason, but I could be wrong about that. Anyway, let's take it out for a spin, shall we? Disappointing.
Gosh, this thing, this thing seems to make quite a nice noise. It's a really smooth engine, this 2.7 V6. I mean, this is definitely, in my opinion, the engine to go for in this Mark Santa Fe. The other engine available was a 2.4 four-cylinder, but I have already tried in a Hyundai Sonata back in 2021. And that generated somewhere between 142 and 144 horsepower. This V6 with 177 horsepower, or 170, I'm not quite sure which, I've seen different things about this, does 0 to 60 apparently with this automatic gearbox in about 11.2 seconds, which I can well believe. There are also some diesels available, but as usual, due to controversial government legislation and all kinds of other reasons, we don't talk about diesels on this channel. If you've got this creamy smooth V6, then why do you need a diesel? Anyway, got some towing capacity in this as well. I think it's a braked towing capacity of something like 2.7 tons in this V6 version, so plenty of torque. If you live out here in sort of the countryside, then this is like a really suitable car for it, even though it's just a monocoque and it's not got a separate low-range four-wheel drive system at all. There is a like a manual Tiptronic mode on this gearbox, but I mean, who's going to be using that in a car like this? Maybe if you're towing or something, it might be useful. Steering is, well, it's as vague as a very vague vlog, which is very vague, which is fine. You don't expect a car like this to be pin sharp in terms of handling, and it isn't, not at all. It's just a privilege to drive something like this, because they're not very common at all. I don't think the sales of the Mark 1 were, you know, bad particularly, but it weren't great. And so just to have an example like this in this sort of condition it's wonderful. How much are you going to be paying for your Mark 1 Hyundai Santa Fe? Well, we're on no budget reviews, which means that I have found one of these for around £1,000 or less. It was I think a 2003 model, also like this, a V6 with an MOT for I think £1,100, so they're out there. The CDX, which this one is, the top of the range model, was also a GSI, and certain ones of them just came as, you know, I don't know, 2.7 or 2.4 without a trim level. The seating is just really strange in this car. Like I'm kind of at the minimum height and maximum kind of travel backwards on the seat. I'm still, I think, too close to the wheel. Garrett does the same thing as well. It doesn't really go back far enough, particularly for him. I think part of it is this lovely sunroof, which is a massive boon in terms of making the car feel more airy, but I'm sure this does rob some headroom out of it. But yeah, the seats are nice and comfortable. I imagine in the winter those heated seats are very, very handy as well. It's quite a likeable car. It reminds me of kind of a sort of shrunk versions of the Mitsubishi Shogun, and of course the thing that this sort of replaced, although when we supplemented, was the old Hyundai Galloper that you sometimes see in this country as an import, that was based on the Shogun. This doesn't have any Mitsubishi engine at all. The era of that had kind of ended by the time that this car was made in 2005. But yes, I quite enjoy it. It's not really the kind of thing that I traditionally would feature on the channel. It's far more the kind of thing that sort of Gareth has, which is good. But I quite like this. It's got a quite a nice, relaxed character, but it feels ever so smooth with this V6. And you know, I'm sure it would go on for many more miles, just with sort of basic maintenance. It doesn't seem particularly complicated or anything like that, and maybe that's sort of the kind of thing you want.